Man, I'm sure you've gone back to an old game just to see if it still holds up in 2026. I've done that with a lot of games, and honestly, many of them have aged like fine wine. I'd even argue that some are better than a lot of today's new releases. So I put together a list of 15 games that, whether because of timeless art direction, rock solid mechanics, or just pure magic, refuse to get old. These are experiences you can play today and still walk away impressed, like they just came out yesterday.
Infamous Second Son, I still remember the day this came out. It was supposed to show us what the next gen was capable of, and honestly, it still does. Delson Rowe is such a great change of pace from Cole McGrath. He's a bit of a punk, he's cocky, and I love that energy. But let's talk about the real star, the powers. Even today, the neon effects in this game look better than 90% of what's coming out now. Zipping up a skyscraper as a streak of light or smashing down as a ball of smoke feels incredibly snappy. The gameplay loop is just pure, distilled fun. It's not cluttered with a million icons, it's just you, Seattle, and these insane abilities. One thing I've always appreciated is how the karma system actually changes the vibe of your powers. Going evil makes everything feel more destructive and violent, while good is all about precision. I'll be honest, the story's a bit on the short side, and I wish the choices felt a bit deeper, but man, that impact when you land a comet drop, it never gets old. It's a flashy, fast-paced sandbox that proves that good art direction and tight controls are immortal.
Fallout New Vegas. Alright, let's get into the heavy hitter. New Vegas is, in my humble opinion, the best Fallout game ever made. Period. Bethesda fans might argue, but Obsidian just brought a level of writing and consequence that we haven't seen since. I remember my first time walking into the Mojave, getting shot in the head, and then spending the next 50 hours deciding the fate of the entire wasteland. The beauty of this game isn't the graphics, let's be real, it was a bit ugly even back then, it's the freedom. You can talk your way out of almost anything, or you can just go full Boone and headshot everything in sight. The factions are what really keep me coming back. Whether you're siding with the NCR, Caesar's Legion if you're feeling extra villainous, or just going independent with Yes Man, the world actually reacts to you. I love the reputation system. It's so much better than a simple morality bar. And the DLCs? Old World Blues is quite possibly the funniest, weirdest writing in gaming history. It's a bit janky, yeah, and you'll probably need a few mods to keep it from crashing on modern rigs, but the soul of this game is untouchable. It's an RPG that actually respects your choices, and that's why it's a masterpiece that will never die.
Prey 2017. I will never stop shouting about how much of a crime it is that Prey didn't sell billions of copies. This is Arcane Studios at the absolute top of their game. I remember waking up in that apartment on Talos 1 and having my brain melted by that first big twist. The atmosphere is just suffocating in the best way possible. It's an immersive sim, which basically means the game tells you, here's a locked door, here are 10 different tools, go figure it out. I spent hours just turning into a coffee mug to squeeze through security windows. The mimics are pure nightmare fuel. I still have a habit of hitting every trash can and chair with a wrench, just in case it's an alien waiting to jump on my face. What I love about Prey is that it doesn't hold your hand. You have to read the emails, listen to the logs, and actually pay attention to the environment to survive. The glue cannon is one of the most creative weapons in history. Using it to build your own stairs up a wall is just genius. It's smart, it's creepy, and it's a game that makes you feel like a genius when you solve a problem. It's a 10 out of 10 that puts most modern simplified shooters to absolute shame.
Gate, it's all new territory to me.
The Last of Us Part 1. Look, I know everyone and their mother has talked about this game, but there's a reason for that. Even after playing it a dozen times, the story of Joel and Ellie still hits me like a freight train. It's the gold standard for narrative in games. I've gone back to it in 2026, and the Part 1 remake specifically just makes everything feel so much more visceral. The way Joel's hands shake when he's aiming, or the look of pure terror on an enemy's face when you corner them, it's uncomfortable, it's raw, and it's perfect. The gameplay is so much more than just sneaking in grass. It's about desperation. Every brick you throw and every shiv you craft feels like it could be the difference between life and death. I love how the combat is messy. You mess up, you panic, you scramble for a bottle to throw. It's not a power fantasy, it's a survival fantasy. The villains aren't just the infected, it's the people who have lost their humanity in a broken world. It's a beautiful, miserable, and incredibly human story. If you haven't sat through that ending and felt your stomach drop, you're missing out on one of the greatest pieces of art our medium has ever produced. It's timeless.
BioShock Infinite is something else. I'll never forget the first time I saw Columbia, floating through those clouds and seeing that sun-drenched city in the sky. It was breathtaking. While the first BioShock was all about the dark, claustrophobic ruins of the ocean, Infinite is the complete opposite, but just as twisted. The hook here is the relationship between Booker and Elizabeth. I've played so many games where the companion AI is just annoying, but Elizabeth, she's the heart of the game. She finds you ammo, she opens tears in reality, and she actually reacts to the world around her. The combat is like a high-speed ballet on those skylines, hooking onto a rail, sniping a guy from midair, and then dropping down with a shock power. It's pure adrenaline. But man, the story, it's a total mind-bender. It tackles American exceptionalism, religion, and quantum physics in a way that had me staring at a wall for an hour after the credits rolled. I know some people think the shooting is a bit arcadey compared to the original, but the pure spectacle and the emotional payoff are just legendary. It's a bright, beautiful nightmare that proves games can be incredibly smart while still being fun as hell. Spec Ops: The Line. Alright, let's talk about the game that tricked everybody. On the surface, Spec Ops: The Line looks like your typical tough guy military shooter set in a sand-buried Dubai, but that is the biggest trap in gaming history. I remember playing this and thinking, yeah, okay, another shooter. And then the white phosphorus scene happened. My jaw hit the floor. This isn't a game about being a hero. It's a game about the psychological collapse of a soldier and the horrific reality of war. It's essentially Heart of Darkness in the desert. The way the environment changes, Dubai being swallowed by massive sandstorms, is still visually impressive, but the real detail is in the characters. Your protagonist, Captain Walker, starts out giving calm professional orders, but by the end of the game, he's screaming and swearing, and his face is literally burned and scarred from the choices you've made. It's a game that actively makes you feel bad for the violence you're committing. It's uncomfortable, it's provocative, and it's a masterpiece of subversion. If you're tired of raw military games that don't say anything, you need to experience this descent into madness. Mass Effect 2. Let me be real, Mass Effect 2 is the best sequel ever made, period. BioWare took everything that was clunky about the first game and just polished it until it's shone. The suicide mission is still the gold standard for high-stakes finales. I remember the literal stress of making sure every single crew member was loyal, because I knew if I messed up, I was going to lose them forever.
This isn't just an RPG, it's a buddy movie in space. I spent more time talking to Garrus and Morden on the Normandy than I did actually shooting aliens, and I loved every second of it. The character writing is just peak. These people aren't just quest givers, they're your family. When you go into that final stretch and that incredible soundtrack kicks in, you feel the weight of the galaxy on your shoulders. The combat is punchy, the biotics feel powerful, and the elusive man is one of the most intriguing villains or allies ever written. It's a perfect blend of space opera storytelling and tactical action. If you haven't sat in the captain's chair and made the hard calls, you're missing out on a core pillar of gaming history. It's perfect. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is perfection in an action game. I still remember the opening, Nate waking up in a train car dangling over a snowy cliff. I was hooked in 5 seconds. Naughty Dog basically mastered the playable blockbuster here. It's funny, it's fast-paced, and it has some of the best set pieces ever designed. The collapsing building in Nepal, the high-speed chase through the mountains, it's all seamless. It doesn't feel like a movie you're watching, it feels like a movie you're doing. Nathan Drake is just so damn likable because he's not a super soldier, he's a guy who's constantly over his head and just barely making it out alive. The chemistry with Sully, Elena, and Chloe is lightning in a bottle. I love that the game doesn't take itself too seriously. It's an adventure, a treasure hunt, and a total blast from start to finish. The platforming is intuitive, the gunplay is snappy, and the locations are just stunning. It's the kind of game that reminds you why you started playing in the first place, for the sheer, unadulterated joy of the journey.
God of War 3. Man, talk about an opening. I still remember the first 15 minutes of God of War 3, climbing up Gaia's back as she scales Mount Olympus while you're literally fighting Poseidon on a massive scale. It was the first time a game actually made me feel the size of a god. Kratos is at his absolute angriest here, and honestly, I love it. There's no sad dad vibes yet, it's just pure, unadulterated vengeance. The combat is a brutal, high-speed dance of blades, and the finishers, they are still some of the most visceral things I've ever seen on a screen. What's crazy is that even in 2026, the scale of the boss fights with the Titans puts modern games to shame. It's a technical masterpiece that pushed that hardware to its absolute limit. The lighting, the blood splatters, the way the camera zooms out to show you how tiny you are compared to Kronos, it's just epic. It's a perfect finale to the original trilogy that knows exactly what it is, a loud, violent, and incredibly polished spectacle. If you haven't felt the power of the Blades of Exile, you haven't experienced the peak of the hack and slash genre. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Look, I'm gonna be real. The Witcher 3 is the game that basically ruined other open worlds for me. I remember wandering into a tiny village in Velen, thinking I was just doing a simple contract, and 2 hours later, I was caught in a massive, heartbreaking story about family and sacrifice. That's the magic here. Even the smallest side quest feels like it was written by a master novelist. Geralt of Rivia is such a phenomenal protagonist because he's world-weary and cynical, but he's got this hidden heart that makes every choice you make feel heavy and real. The world itself is just chef's kiss, from the muddy, war-torn swamps to the vibrant, colorful streets of Novigrad. The atmosphere is so thick you can almost smell the rain. I spent literal weeks just playing Gwent in taverns or tracking down legendary gear. The combat is tactical and forces you to actually be a witcher, brewing potions, oiling your blade, and studying your enemy. It's a game that respects your intelligence and rewards your curiosity at every turn. It's a massive, beautiful, and deeply human masterpiece that proves that when you care about the writing, the game becomes immortal. Just Cause 2. Alright, let's talk about pure, chaotic freedom. Just Cause 2 is a game that I still go back to when I just want to blow stuff up and feel like a madman. The map of Panau is absolutely massive, but the real hook is the dual tether grappling hook. I've spent literal hours just tethering enemy soldiers to gas canisters and watching them blast off, or attaching a jet to a skyscraper just to see what happens. It's a physics playground that doesn't care about realism. It only cares about cool. Rico Rodriguez is basically a 1980s action hero, and the game leans into that 100%. The explosions are huge, the stunts are insane, and the sense of speed when you're skydiving is still some of the best in the business. It's not a deep game in terms of story, but who cares? It's a game that hands you a parachute, a grappling hook, and a world full of red barrels and says, go have a blast. It's the ultimate stress reliever, and a reminder that sometimes games should just be about the sheer joy of causing absolute mayhem.
God damn it, Kane! You better get a move on!
I'm inbound. Stand fast and give him hell.
Sleeping Dogs. Rounding out this batch is a game that I will defend until my last breath. Sleeping Dogs. It is a literal crime that we never got a sequel to this. You're Wei Shen, an undercover cop infiltrating the triads in Hong Kong, and the story is basically a top-tier John Woo movie. The tension of his double life is palpable in every cutscene, but the real star here is the combat. Forget about guns for a second. This is all about brutal, martial arts-focused brawling. Using a car door or a frozen fish to finish a fight, it's visceral and incredibly satisfying. Hong Kong feels so much more alive and dense than the massive empty maps we see in a lot of modern games. The night markets, the neon lights reflecting in the rain, it has an identity that most open worlds just lack. I also love the driving. It has this arcade-like snap to it that makes high-speed chases through narrow alleys a total blast. Wei Shen is such a complex, tortured character, and watching him struggle with his loyalty to his brothers versus his duty as a cop is genuinely emotional. It's a game with a massive heart and some of the best environmental takedowns in history. Seriously, go play it. Metro Last Light. Man, if you want to talk about atmosphere, Metro Last Light is the king of the tunnels. I remember the first time I stepped out onto the surface of a post-apocalyptic Moscow, wiping the radioactive condensation off my gas mask while hearing the heavy, distorted breathing of Artyom. It's terrifyingly immersive. This isn't just a shooter, it's a survival horror epic, where every bullet is literally worth its weight in gold. I spent so much time just sitting in the makeshift bars of the underground stations, listening to survivors tell stories of the world before the bombs. It's a world that feels heavy, dark, and heartbreakingly real. The stealth is what really got me. Creeping through the shadows, unscrewing light bulbs to stay hidden, and deciding whether to spare an enemy or take them out, it makes you feel the weight of your choices. The Redux version looks phenomenal even today, but it's the sound design that haunts me. The guttural growls of the mutants and the echo of a distant train, it's pure dread.
It's a game with a soul, based on a fantastic series of novels, and it treats its setting with a level of respect you rarely see. If you haven't lived through RTM's struggle, you're missing out on the most atmospheric FPS ever made.
There must be bigger beasts around. Чувак, be careful not to wake them up. Shit! They're close! Wait, Artyom, don't rush. Careful here.
Things about how to run the city? Not yet, but I got an idea about how me and
GTA 4. Alright, I'm gonna say it. I actually like GTA 4 more than GTA 5. Yeah, I said it. There is a grit and a weight to Liberty City that the series hasn't touched since. Niko Bellic is, in my opinion, the most human protagonist Rockstar has ever written. He's not a cartoon character, he's a man haunted by war, just trying to find some peace in a city that's built on lies. I remember the first time I felt the car physics. They were heavy, boat-like, and actually required skill to drive. It wasn't arcadey, and it made every high-speed chase feel like a desperate struggle. The Euphoria physics engine in this game was a revelation. Seeing Niko stumble or react to the force of an explosion felt so grounded. And the story? It's a dark, cynical take on the American dream that actually has something to say. I spent way too much time just hanging out with Roman or little Jacob, listening to the incredible radio stations and feeling like I was actually in New York. It's a moody, brown, and beautiful masterpiece that focuses on character over chaos. If you haven't experienced Niko's journey from the docks to the top of the criminal underworld, you're missing the heart of the franchise.
Far Cry 3. Finally, we're ending with the game that basically defined the modern open-world shooter, Far Cry 3. But let's be real, the reason this game is a classic isn't just the map, it's Vas Montenegro. I remember sitting there staring at the screen while he gave that definition of insanity speech and feeling actual chills. He's quite possibly the best villain in gaming history. Watching Jason Brody go from a scared, privileged tourist to a cold-blooded jungle warrior is a wild, disturbing transformation that actually makes you question who the real monster is. The gameplay is pure, distilled fun. I spent my first 10 hours just liberating outposts, and let me tell you, there is nothing more satisfying than sitting on a hill with a suppressed sniper rifle and picking off guards, or just breaking a tiger's cage and watching it do the work for you. The wingsuit, the crafting, the hallucination sequences, it all fits together into this beautiful, violent, tropical nightmare. It's got a personality that the later games in the series have struggled to recapture. It's a legendary experience that reminds us that a great villain and a tight gameplay loop can make a game truly immortal. And that is our list, guys. 15 classics that, in my opinion, still put a lot of modern releases to shame. These aren't just games, they're moments in time that we'll still be talking about 10 years from now. They had vision, they had guts, and they had that perfect spark that just doesn't age. But now, I want to hear from you. Which of these is your absolute favorite? Or is there a classic I missed that you still play every single year? Drop a comment below and let's get a discussion going. I love hearing your personal experiences with these legends.